Hello viewers, today we are going to study about morphology of thrombus. We will be studying the general morphological features of thrombus and then we will proceed to differentiating features between arterial and venous thrombi and then differentiating features between thrombus and post-mortem clots. So thrombus formation can occur anywhere in the cardiovascular system. It can involve the arteries, veins, the heart chambers, the cardiac valves and also the aortic lumen. And depending upon the site and the underlying mechanism, the morphology of thrombus formation at these sites are different. So we know that the arterial and the mural thrombi. What are mural thrombi? The thrombus that is formed in the heart chambers and aorta, these are mural thrombi. And thrombus which involves the cardiac valves, these are vegetations. These are called as vegetations. So the arterial thrombi and mural thrombi. What is the main predisposing factor or the primary abnormality? It is endothelial injury. Endothelial injury and abnormal blood flow. Abnormal blood flow, particularly turbulent blood flow. Turbulent blood flow. So the arterial thrombus, it is rich in platelets because endothelial injury when occurs, then platelets adhere to it. So these thrombi are rich in platelets and the thrombus in the arteries tend to occur at the bifurcation points. Bifurcation points. Here the flow tends to become turbulent. Whereas in venous thrombi, the predisposing factor is stasis of blood, and also hypercoagulable state is an important risk factor for venous thrombi. Now these thrombi, they have a point of attachment to the vascular lumen. They are attached to the vascular lumen at a point, particularly the point where it has started to form or the point of initiation. And they tend to grow. They tend to grow in size or they tend to propagate. The arterial thrombi, they propagate retrograde to the direction of blood flow. Arterial thrombi, they propagate retrograde to blood flow. Whereas the venous thrombi, they extend or propagate in the direction of blood flow. Direction of blood flow. But both these thrombi, they are extending towards heart. They are extending towards heart. So we can understand this with the help of a simple diagram. This is an artery. So this is thrombus formation and this is the direction of blood flow. And here the thrombus tends to propagate in this direction. In case of veins, so this is the direction of blood flow. So here this thrombus it tends to grow in the direction of the flow of blood. And you can see both these are propagating or extending towards heart. Now this propagating tail, it is poorly attached to the vessel, so it is prone to fragmentation and embolization. So in embolization, the fragmented portion, it gets carried away by the blood to a distant site. So this is prone to fragmentation and embolization, this propagating tail. Now in thrombus, there are grossly and microscopically visible lines of Zahan. These are alternating light and dark laminations or zones. So the light zone is formed by, light or the paler zone is formed by platelets and fibrin deposits, and this light zone alternates with dark or red zone, which is formed by RBCs. Now what does this lines of Zahan indicate? So they indicate that thrombi are formed in flowing blood, or the thrombus has formed in flowing blood, and these lines of Zahan are prominent in arterial thrombi as compared to venous thrombi, and in post-mortem clots these are absent. The post-mortem clots are bland, these are bland, non-laminated. So this is an important differentiating feature between thrombus and post-mortem clots. Lines of Zahan are present in thrombus, whereas they are absent in post-mortem clots. Now what are the predisposing factors for mural thrombi? Now the factors that predispose to mural thrombi in the heart chambers, cardiac chambers. These are abnormal cardiac contractility. Second is endomyocardial injury. What are the conditions in which abnormal cardiac contractility is seen? These are arrhythmias, dilated cardiomyopathy, myocardial infarction, and endomyocardial injury can occur because of catheter injury and also in myocarditis. Now the mural thrombi that forms in aorta or aortic lumen. So what are the predisposing factors? There can be ulceration of atherosclerotic plaque that leads to thrombus formation, and if there is aneurysmal dilation of aorta, then it will also lead to thrombus formation. Here the mechanism is endothelial injury, and here stasis occurs. Now next is vegetations, cardiac vegetations. These can be sterile or infected. Now the blood-borne bacteria and fungi, they can directly damage the valves. They can directly damage the valves, the cardiac valves, or they can infect already damaged valves for example in rheumatic heart disease. And the mechanism is endothelial injury. The mechanism of this vegetation formation or thrombus formation on the valves is endothelial injury and abnormal blood flow. Because the valves get damaged, the contours get abnormal, so there will be abnormal blood flow, and both these factors will lead to formation of thrombus. So example is infective endocarditis. So in this condition, large thrombotic masses are formed. On the cardiac valves. Now sterile cardiac vegetations are seen in, these are present on the non-infected or the normal valves, and these are seen in hypercoagulable states. For example, non-bacterial thrombotic endocarditis, sterile verrucous endocarditis, or Libman-Sachs endocarditis, which is seen in the setting of SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus. So now we discuss about the differentiating features between arterial and venous thrombi. So on the basis of these parameters, we can differentiate between arterial thrombi and venous thrombi. The most common sites in arterial thrombi in decreasing order of frequency are coronary arteries, cerebral arteries, and femoral arteries. In venous thrombi, the veins that are involved are superficial saphenous vein, deep veins of legs. So here the veins which are at the level of the knee or above the knee, the femoral, the popliteal, iliac veins, these are very important. Other veins, portal vein, hepatic vein, renal vein, and dural sinuses, they are also involved. Mechanism. The mechanism in arterial thrombi is endothelial injury and turbulence of blood flow. So at the bifurcation point, turbulence is present. So these are present. The arterial thrombi tend to be present at the bifurcation points. Venous thrombi, the mechanism is stasis of blood and hypercoagulability. Propagation. The arterial thrombi, they grow retrograde to the flow of blood, whereas the venous thrombi, they extend in the direction of blood flow, and in this way both propagate towards the heart. Occlusion. Arterial thrombi are frequently occlusive, whereas venous thrombi are always occlusive. They take the shape of the lumen of the vein and they form a long luminal cast in the vein. Morphology, gross features. The arterial thrombi are grey-white, friable. Friable means they crumble, and they have alternating pale and red areas. Arterial thrombi are also called as white or pale thrombi. Venous thrombi are dark red, they are firm. They contain more enmeshed RBCs. These are called as red or stasis thrombi. And on microscopy, lines of Zahn, they are prominent in arterial thrombi. These lines of Zahn are formed by the pale platelet and fibrin deposits which alternate with dark RBC rich layers. And in venous thrombi, lines of Zahn are present, but they are less prominent as compared to arterial thrombi. Complications. So in case of arterial thrombi, the organ that is supplied by that artery, if the artery is occluded, then it can lead to infarction of the supplied organ. For example, if there is thrombus formation in the coronary artery and the lumen gets completely occluded, then it can lead to the infarction of the myocardium that is supplied by that coronary artery. It can lead to ischemic necrosis. Infarction is ischemic necrosis. Ischemic necrosis. Complication in venous thrombi depends whether the superficial veins are involved or the deep veins are involved. In case of superficial saphenous veins, the venous thrombi in superficial saphenous vein occur in the setting of varicosities. So the clinical features will be different, the complications will be different. So the patient will have edema, skin ulcers, also called as varicose ulcers. There will be poor wound healing, and the thrombus in the superficial saphenous veins, it's rarely embolize. It doesn't embolize. Whereas in the deep veins, if thrombus is in the deep veins, then it has a propensity to embolize, and embolism occurs in the pulmonary vasculature. So it can lead to pulmonary thromboembolism, which is a very serious condition. Next we discuss the differentiating features between post-mortem clots and thrombus or the ante-mortem clot. Now on the basis of these parameters, we can differentiate between thrombus and post-mortem clots. Site. Thrombus may be formed anywhere in the circulation, whereas post-mortem clot is present in the dependent parts of the body. This is due to sedimentation and settling down of the blood components due to gravity. Gross. The thrombus is dry, granular, it has firm and friable consistency, whereas the post-mortem clot is gelatinous, soft and rubbery. It has a dark red dependent portion. The RBCs that settle down, it has a dark red dependent portion and a yellow chicken fat like upper portion. The thrombus may or may not take the shape of the vascular contours, whereas the post-mortem clot takes the shape of the vascular contours. If the vessel is bifurcated, then the post-mortem clot takes the shape of that bifurcation. Thrombus is attached to the vessel wall. It is attached at the point of initiation, whereas the post-mortem clot is usually not attached to the vessel wall. Microscopy. The lines of Zahn are present in thrombus, whereas they are absent in post-mortem clot, and on the basis of this we can differentiate between thrombus and post-mortem clot. So in this video we studied about the morphology of thrombus. I hope you like the video. For more such videos, please subscribe my channel and do not forget to like and share my videos. Thanks for watching.